Hello, and welcome to the sixth house, When Night Falls, an astrological reflection on the twilight hours. I'm Shane M. Nygaard, and this is one of the videos in my From Sunrise Through Nightfall series, looking at the 12 houses of the Zodiac through the time of day and quality of the light at the respective time of day or night. If you haven't already, check out the introduction video in the playlist for the best overview. One thing I'll always return to start is psychologist Carl Jung's direction to stick with the image. This is especially on point for astrology because astrology is just filled with imagery of all sorts. This is my favorite Jung quote because there's just so much to it. Sticking with the image is sticking with the imagination, the imagination. It's how we look at and perceive things all the time. He also said, image is psyche. So we see when we're imagining, sticking with the image, we're active in psyche's world. And with psyche as the Greek word for soul, we can understand when we're imagining, we're ensouled. I mean, that's huge. And especially with our astrology, when we're sticking with the astrological images, our astrology is ensouled astrology. So over the millennia, we have gained multiple images and perspectives through which to understand the houses. And for the sixth house, it's been referred to as the house of health and occupation. Occupation as in occupy, and how we occupy ourselves on a daily basis, and how what we occupy ourselves with influences our health one way or another. This can be related to self-improvement. And it's the house of mala fortuna, or bad fortune. Ruh-roh. We engage with the themes of service here, and it's pets. I mean, consider the opposite, the 12th house, as zoos, and how pets are smaller and more manageable in a home on a daily basis. The medical world associates this house with skin and the immune system. And then, of course, illness, again, connected with health, but not in a life-threatening way like the 12th house. I mean, this is a fascinating, multi-layered house. And fascinating in its aesthetic quality when seen as the hours of twilight. So the image we'll stick with here for the sixth house is the imagery of the time of day. And we look at this where each house represents a 2-hour block of time comprising together a 24-hour day. We start at the ascendant with the 6:00 a.m. sunrise and progress clockwise through the day and night. The sixth house here is about 6 to 8 p.m. Twilight is upon us when the sun has set and disappears below the horizon line. Although the sun has just set, its fading light is still present, showing us the sixth house is where day and night exist simultaneously. Though when night falls, light is scarce. Junichiro Tanizaki says in Praise of Shadows, if light is scarce, then light is scarce. We will immerse ourselves in the darkness and there discover its own particular beauty. Tanizaki could easily be describing the scarce light of the sixth house. Its beauty can be literal, as seen in twilight images of early evening pink, blue, and violet hues. The dimming, disappearing horizon line. Or the many shades of cool, calming oranges. And as Irish mystic poet John O'Donohue says, I always think it's amazing that a twilight is so silent because it has the grandeur of music. And the grandeur of music is exemplified by our chart example here. Internationally renowned opera singer Elīna Garanča from Riga, Latvia. I adore her and her voice, and had the opportunity to talk with her about astrology when I was in New York. I went to see her at the Metropolitan Opera, and I just got to brag here because something like this only happens like once in a lifetime. But I sat front row center and heard her sing my absolute favorite opera aria when she performed in the Damnation of Faust. And when you think about it, the Damnation of Faust is about as mala fortuna as one can get. Am I right? She gave me her birth time and permission to share her chart. I named her the voice of Twilight, as we're immediately drawn to her sixth house and that gorgeous stellium. Not to mention the majority of her chart is below the horizon line. Particularly of note here is Venus in Libra in her sixth house, the aesthetic of what I call Venus after sunset, a Venus bringing a darker, cooler aesthetic. As a New York Times reporter wrote of her performance, her mezzo-soprano, a pearl smooth column of silvery sound that soars into the theater like a laser, remains one of the most coolly luxurious voices in opera. He captured the twilight quality of her voice so well in words. So to immerse ourselves in Twilight's particular beauty, check out her promo for Damnation of Faust at the link below. It's under 2 minutes. And to set the stage before you pause to head over, in Damnation, Elīna plays Marguerite, and Marguerite's love, Faust, has left. Darkness sets in, and she feels as though the sun has set. Listen to Twilight coming through her coolly luxurious voice, exemplifying her chart. So now pause, follow the link below, and then come back. It's just a stunning voice. And while not ignoring her Gemini moon's influence on these short examples here, I mean, I really love when a chart with strong Gemini influences includes various doubles. We're still focusing on the sixth house here. And for her Romantique collection, she brings together arias of love and despair, not unlike Twilight, bringing together both day and night. She has a memoir book, Zwischen den Welten, Between the Worlds, about her path on the great opera stages of the world. Again, Twilight is the time zwischen den Welten of day and night. Hashtag so on point. And in Strauss's Der Rosenkavalier, she played the boy part. It's called a pants role in opera, Octavian. And she is both boy and girl simultaneously. And when she played Dalila in Sanson's Sanson et Dalila, she described her portrayal of the character as attempting to find the little bit of light that shines through the wall of the femme fatale, a seemingly Twilight interpretation of Dalila. I just love it. Oh, yep, added a couple of pictures here. Me fanboying with Elīna at the stage door of the Metropolitan Opera in New York City. And on a final note with Elīna, she recently released her latest album, When Night Falls. The notes say, quote, full of ambivalent sensations, colors and shades, nighttime has long been special to Elīna Garanča. For some people, the night can be full of fear and uncertainty. It's a time when you're alone and confronted with yourself, she says. And yet, it can also bring peace. The world calms down and falls asleep, and we humans can find calm as well. So from the calmness of Elīna's songs of night, we look to the haute couture fashions and aesthetics of the legendary Yves Saint Laurent, an artist with another gorgeous sixth house stellium. Just look at that. He has a very haute couture sixth house with Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Pluto, all tailored to fit the sixth house of his chart. But how did a fashion legend bring the twilight hours into his work? With such a strong sixth house and the simultaneity of day and night within this house, it becomes more difficult to see things as one or the other. And distinctions become sort of blurred, just as this house is neither purely day nor purely night. It's both. This showed up in Saint Laurent's work as, quote, his passion for the arts, his designs were often inspired by artists, made him feel that his work blurred the boundary between art and fashion. See, check out this line of dresses, the Mondrian collection. It was impossible to say his work was purely fashion, as it was so revolutionary by embodying an artistic quality. Yet, it could not be called purely art either, as it was clearly fashion. Both were present at the same time. You can just see it here. Or we see the distinctions blurred in his Les Smoking, the top three pictures here, which is the tuxedo jacket and pants originally intended for men. But Saint Laurent designed it for women. Was it a man's jacket suit now, or was it a woman's jacket suit? It blurred those lines between both. And another of his most famous fashion lines was a series of Russian peasant-style clothing, yet sewn from the richest of fabrics. Thus, this collection blurred the line between the rich and the poor. They were both present at the same time. So with his haute couture sixth house blending the light of day and night, Saint Laurent was destined to always sew two elements together in his work, and in the process became a fashion legend. So check out my article on astro.com. It's linked below. I called it Yves Saint Laurent, Fashioning Fantasy into Reality. It's about this same dynamic, but viewed differently through Laurent's Saturn in Pisces placement. It's interesting when you can see the same dynamic in different ways within a chart. And that's true of Yves Saint Laurent. So thank you for tuning in to my reflections on Twilight and the sixth house through the light and the night and Elīna Garanča and Yves Saint Laurent. What did you think? Does it make sense to you? Do you like this approach? Leave your comments, whatever they may be, below. Feel free to subscribe and check out my other videos as they get posted. Cheers.